All right, let's do a quick Sue Surf one coming off of yesterday's stream. All right, coming off of yesterday's stream. What do we got here? So after my stream yesterday, shout out, who's this? Money Mitch Will. This person, shout out to UG and shout out to everybody that, tweets me news and updates. Sent me some alleged DMs between, I assume, him or somebody and somebody that's on Surf's case. Okay. A Stamps, free you, gang. I'm here because they playing with bro name. And I know this disrespectful to even ask. So if you curse me the fuck out. I get it, cuz. But they playing with bro name, saying he ratted on y'all because of the plea he took. When I say bro, I'm speaking on Surf. I know 1,000,000% y'all stood tall. I read the work. You on the case. What you have to say to the bloggers pushing that narrative, you being one of his co-defendants and close to homie. They want to know, did y'all know Surf was taking his pleas first? Again, feel free to tell me to shut the fuck up, ate my business. As a street nigga who fuck with Surf, I just want to get the right info out, and you being on the case will clear it all. Okay. Before I start reading that piece and it cuts off, here looks like the full response from this particular person. My brother's solid and he ain't tell. Only niggas that ain't street don't understand that it's either trial or cop out. We all copped out to what we did individually. That's how the feds work. It's not the same system as the state. You don't have to implicate anybody but yourself at your plea hearing. Do some research and you'll get your evidence back in that. Once again, though, the bloggers are just being what they are, civilians trying to make money off of shit they have no clue about. And I'm going to leave that at that because I know this a bogus page, but the answer is the answer. No. Okay. So if you look at how this DM starts, it starts saying A Stamps, Stampz, right? Okay. Now, who stamps? People. Who is Stamps? Anybody got a guess? Stamps, as an alias, is Amir Warden. Damn, ARP. You did a good stream yesterday. Damn. Amir Warden, aka Stamps, aka Killer. I was telling y'all in yesterday's stream as we started to read the paperwork, I said, hold on to the name Warden because that is one of two of the biggest reasons why my title was what it was yesterday. The reason why Sue Surf didn't snitch, right? And I said, even at the end of the stream, I said, now the only thing I could change is like a co-defendant, but right. And I end my fucking stream, and this person tweets me that shit. And I pulled up the paperwork and I said, well, who stamps on the case? Fucking Warden. The person that we would have to allege that Sue Surf harmed because he was still fighting at the time when Surf took his plea. And that's what some of the internet videos that have been going up. And I was like, Warden's not on his charge in the RICO. He's not. And when I looked at that whole motion from Warden, right, it looked like his lawyer was attacking the fact that the actual overarching RICO didn't designate him within the hierarchy, didn't give any, it just didn't do enough for him to say, I belong to under any of this RICO. Everybody else there, that's not what the lawyer was saying. But when we went to the Surf section, he had his shit. When we went to the Tyreek guy, whatever, he had his shit. When we went, you know what I'm saying? And it was all individualized at the end of this indictment. That's what I read yesterday. And I said, ooh. And it's bugged because when I got off that flight yesterday and I was reading it in the car, some people were like, yo, how you say he was driving up the highway? I wasn't driving, okay? And I was reading it in the car when we was driving up the highway. And yeah, I texted to somebody. I said, yo, this right here to me says Surf ain't no rat. When I go back to the superseding indictment. And then I called I called somebody that's been covering it a lot. I called them and I was like, yo, um, who's the name of the person? Because I don't see that. And homie was like, check this video out. And I went and I looked at that video and I was just like, yeah, but that lawyer's motion in my mind, I was like, that lawyer's motion is not about the surf shit. It's about the way the indictment is laid out with him not being specified and giving enough room for that lawyer to think like we got some wiggle room to say, maybe could get you out of the whole overarching RICO to begin with. That's what it looked like to me. You know what I'm saying? So I was just like, if I don't see anything else by the time I cut the stream on in the morning, that's it. You know? So, hey, Surf, man. When it comes to media, when you get home, tweet me your thank you for real due diligence. Okay. But nah, shout out to dude that tweeted me this as far as the DMs. The fucking DM links right back to the person that I had my eye on in my direction for all of it. Warden. Look at that. That's crazy. Now, said that, if you guys want to do a little bit more Sue Surf segment, since y'all did so much walking with me yesterday as I walked through that whole stream and all those little elements that I felt had tie-ins to points that we should take off the table as far as the narratives around the whole situation, which is why I set up the stream like that. Let's take a look at some of the comments together real quick, and then we'll get out of here. We'll move on. Lux the Goated, who's a heavy YouTuber, says it's kind of amazing that Mass Platform got so big that once he brought this topic up, he got the whole industry talking about it. He got a big platform, man. Got a big platform. What's this one? 52 likes, 26 comments. It says, wouldn't be a snitch if he was on the case by himself. But because he had multiple people that didn't want to bow down and kept their mouth shut, then him taking a plea is equivalent to being a rat. What part of this do you not understand? No, sir. What part of it do you not understand? You're missing it. You're too generalized. And you got to understand that all cases are not the same. The devil really is in the fucking detail. Anybody that looks at a general plea deal that involves multiple people all within a RICO and says automatic snitching, I would never listen to their takes and I just can't rely on their opinions. Because if you go Google it or chat GPT it or speak with the lawyer, right? The RICO, the count one in the paperwork, it's right there for you to go read, brings them all together. But then everybody's counts are individualized, which is why everybody can get different type of plea deals, different type of sentences. Like it's not all. Some people might think that the RICO is the totality of it. No, that's the RICO is that what people are saying, and we broke some of that down on yesterday's stream. It's the dirty ass government's way of getting at organizations and bringing people together and being able to get the leaders. And that's why even Warden's, one of his lawyers' attacks was going at the hierarchy. Well, it's RICO is being used to tie together conspiracy amongst organizations, which is why the government has to lay out in the indictment hierarchical and hierarchy. But my lawyer says, for me, you don't got me in the hierarchy, which is why in other pieces of the indictment, you see shit saying like, or they even asked Surf in his plea deal, are you a high ranker with a blah, 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 right? The hierarchy matters. Being the Gotti matters because I don't got no evidence on, well, they did later on, but they indicted him a million times without, we know he's a shot. Everybody knows that. Everybody sees Surf's chain and his hat and hanging out with Big U and all this and claiming what he claimed. We all know this, but you got to prove it. And I'm proving that there's things going on under this RICO. Now within the RICO, you guys got your own shit. This guy over there got a murder. He's got to fight that. He could cop out to that if he wants. But him, if I copped out under the same Rolling 60s RICO that Surf is on, if I copped out to my murder, that doesn't mean that somebody else is hurt. As far as if my charges that I'm fighting is for the car theft or for the drugs. You see what I'm saying? And Warden, not only is he coming out and saying, dude, is Surf is good, Warden himself, but his motion, I think, is like a little misinterpreted. Not even a little, a lot. I think people see the fact that his lawyer put in a motion attacking the RICO and the hierarchical nature of him not being specified and saying, because he still doesn't want to accept a plea yet or period. And he said in that DM he copped out, right? But because he doesn't, like, you got to fight a little bit, right? Like, no, who walks in there unless you just walk in and say guilty? But who just walks in there and doesn't let their lawyer earn at least a couple $1,000s, right? His lawyer is looking to see if he could get him out of the entire shit because he's not being specified in the hierarchical nature of a RICO, right? No, like you got you. This is why I say the devil's sometimes in the detail. You know what I mean? So I appreciate the comments, keep them coming, but it's not that simple all the time. It's not supposed to be. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. But shout out to this person. I ain't in here deleting comments. Only mods and YouTube deletes comments. So y'all do what y'all want in here. This person says, I'm not saying he ratted, but if he was the first to take a plea while everyone else was trying to fight and has his plea hurt their case, then he snitched. You don't need to be specific in a RICO. The furtherance of the organization is the snitching part of it. Okay, so it's funny because a lot of people at first had a bigger issue with him saying, and my co-conspirators, and we even broke that down yesterday. Co-conspirators could be in your case and they're not named because, yes, they sometimes could be snitches, but they could also be people that are uncharged, people that I'll catch you later type of concept, all types of reasons where you could just be named as a co-conspirator. So when they asked him about a co-conspirator, people focused a lot on that. They did. But now this particular person in this comment is focusing on him saying, are you, for example, are you rolling 60s? Yes. Now me, that's another piece of yesterday's stream. I said, I'm done with that. Hey, you streets can adopt that if you want. I think I'm giving you guys a good alley-oop. Let's stop comparing street gangs to Omerta. Omerta. Google it. YouTube it. Listen to mafia bosses talk about what it is. Omerta. All right? They're not the same. I don't care if you call yourself BMF, Black Mafia family. You're not mafia. No, none of these gangs are mafia-like. None of them. It's very, very different. Give the Italians their shit. That's it. And the same probably goes for Mexican. Motherfuckers move different. It's different. We did that yesterday. Go check it out. All right. But if Young Thug and Brian Steele are fighting, YSL is not a gang. Okay. It's a record company. And then Gunna says it is a gang. Yeah, you're in my eyes, that's bad. That's wrong. Okay. But we're not fighting that Rolling 60s isn't a gang. If all of them is fighting, if anybody on that case is saying, I'm fighting that Rolling 60s is not a gang, then there's cause for us to double back and look more into that. I didn't see none of that, which is why I think people at first were looking at, well, is anybody else fighting while he copped out to drugs? Is anybody else fighting a drug charge? That's why I think people went after that first. But now if you guys are going to spin back and go for the RICO, show me who was fighting the same way Young Thug was, saying YSL is not a gang. It's a record label. Nobody is fighting saying the Rolling 60s is not a Crip gang. It's a record label. I didn't see that. You have to show it to me if it exists. Okay. I'll do two more. What's that conceited bar about Master Splinter being a sewer rat? I don't remember it. I'll do one more since I don't really have any context here. I gotta be living in the Twilight Zone. He got to put it in the subtitle. I'm gonna leave it alone. Y'all got it. Well, shout out to everybody that be in the comments. I do during the day spin back and read comments. Okay, people, I do. This person, for example, said, "ARP, you missed the overt act. WW, it's on page 21 of the indictment. Salute to your hard work. Thank you. I appreciate that." Well, you know what? Oh no, damn, I just took it down. I would have did it right now for you. I'll spin back and I'll look at that. So appreciate you. Constructive criticism, constructive feedback. I'm always for it, people. The corny shit I ignore. All right. But you want me to go reread page 21? I'll do it right after the stream. I got you. Or maybe even on tomorrow's stream, depending on what I find. Okay.